course, you could be watching some little match happening somewhere in North London that used to be in Middlesex tonight, or you could say, no, I don't want to deal with all of that stress. Let's chat about Arsenal instead. So that's what we're going to do. And we'll, of course, maybe look at the score every so often, shall we? This is Over and Over and Over Again. So, yes, don't worry too much about that little game that, is happening somewhere that a few people are watching, getting a little bit excited. We're not getting to it. We'll see. We are going to look back on Arsenal's very, very nervy win against Manchester United. We're going to look ahead to the final weekend of the season. Of course, joining us is a very special friend of the channel. It is, of course, Neil. How are you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm good. How are you, Rich?
Well, we're
ready to celebrate. Ready to celebrate the title after Spurs win 5-0. Yeah, ready for that?
Well, I mean, we still got to win on Saturday or Sunday. Sorry, first.
Of course, we're going to win that. We win 4-0 Saturday.
Well, let's not get too carried away quite yet. But yes, I mean, obviously, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because obviously, as Arsenal fans, we never want to see Spurs. I wouldn't want to see them win tiddlywink game. So to have to want them to win a game is not really something that I can even get my head around. But needs must, I suppose. And if they can do us a result tonight, then fair play to them. But I'm certainly not going to be cheering for them. If they get a result, that's great. I'd rather put my faith in West Ham, if I'm honest, because I've got nothing against West Ham.
Said that. Yeah. Did you see that in the crowd? The Spurs fans are wearing their sky blue shirts. It's unbelievable, right? I mean, I'll be honest with you about one thing. If they're in the crowd and they're actually celebrating City's goals, it just goes to show what kind of a club they are. Because at the end of the day, I'm sorry, Rich. As far as I'm concerned, as much as it's difficult. I can kind of see it from their point of view, because if the roles were reversed, maybe. But I would not be at an Arsenal match cheering the opposition's goals. I will not do that. Never ever do that. And I can just see them doing that. Let's wait and see the reports. We'll see.
I wouldn't be surprised. But this actually, in a way, reminds me a bit of the final day in 1999, wasn't it? When Tottenham were away at Manchester United, and Man United were a point ahead of us going into the last game, and we needed Tottenham to get a result against them, and we had to beat Aston Villa, which we did. But Tottenham even had the cheek to go 1-0 up.
Les Ferdinand? Was it Les Ferdinand?
I think it might have been Les Ferdinand. Yeah, I know they went 1-0 up quite early in the game, and obviously Man United came back and won, and we ended up coming second. But it reminds me a little bit of that day. And I remember thinking, there's no way Tottenham are going to get a result that's going to help us. I'm not saying they lost that game on purpose, because they went 1-0 up, and it was actually quite a tight game, even game, and they got the win, Man United. But I don't know. I kind of never felt they would do us that favour, and it's the same tonight, really. Apart from anything else, Man City are a much better team than Tottenham, aren't they? And I think that comes down to it. Ultimately, Man City should win. They should beat West Ham as well, let's be honest. But football doesn't always go like that, does it? It just doesn't work like that always. They could easily draw tonight, Man City. They could do, couldn't they?
It was to wait and see. 90 minutes, Rich. Let's see. Well, it could be over in 10. There could be 3-5 down in 10 minutes.
It's still 0-0, and they played 6 minutes, so it's obviously not going to be.
I can't say. I was just about to go cut them off. No.
Not doing
absolutely that, definitely not. I am not doing that. If I get too excited, make sure you scold me, because I'm not to get too excited for them.
I will do. If Tottenham score, we're not even going to go down that road. Terry's with us, of course. He says, "Good evening, Richard. Super Neil, Man City 4-0. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it ended something like that. But let's try and keep a little bit of hope while we can, because it's still 0-0 at the moment, and they played less than 10 minutes. So we shall see. But one of the main reasons that we're here is because we wanted a bit of a distraction away from all the drama and tension that's going on over there in N17, and we wanted to look back on. We had a game on Sunday, and it was a strange game in many ways. My overriding feeling for that, Neil, was I've seen us at Old Trafford play much better than that and lose. In fact, quite often that's happened many times over the years.
Well, last season, in fact, as early as last season, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's happened so many times. And that was one of our worst performances at Old Trafford for a long, long time. And we end up getting a win, which was a little bit undeserved. But at this point in the season, it doesn't matter, does it? I mean, we'll take a scrappy 1-0 win all day long. And if the result goes our way tonight, we'll take a scrappy 1-0 win on Sunday as well, I'm sure. But, I mean, do you think it was nerves that got the better of us a little bit in a big away game at such a crucial point? Man City had won the day before. There was more pressure on us. Do you think that was the reason why the performance was so poor? Or is it just we looked tired as well?
It's hard one to say, Rich, because if you look at the our record against the top six, if you like, which obviously includes us, even if you take this game away, we were currently at 19 out of 27 points, and we were top of that mini league, if that makes sense. Haven't lost to any of them. We've either beaten them or drawn, which no other team actually has done. A combination of how we've done, and so I kind of found it a bit odd because I thought it can't be down to nerves, or unless it's just because of the pressure that we're so close to taking it to the last game of the season. So it might have been a combo, but the weird thing is, if you remember the first few minutes, we were all over them. The first few minutes we started off electrically. Yeah, and they couldn't even get out of their half. We weren't letting them. And I thought, wow, this is going to be great. Yeah, finally we'll get revenge of all those horrible defeats that we suffered at their hands. And then, I don't know, I think after a few minutes, they just kind of took control. We sat back with a deep 4-4-2. And we weren't really, I don't know whether that was part of the plan, whether it was Arteta's idea that we'll let them have most of the ball and we will just hit them on the counter. It just felt very un-Arsenal-like for the last, how we've been playing over the last 18 to 24 months. It felt very disjointed. The midfield were not good at all. I have to say, to be honest, I mean, the only standout for me was the defence in that whole game. Saliba was unbelievable. Oh my goodness me, that kid is on a different level. He was so good, and with his power, and obviously combined with Gabriel, that's what kept us, helps us keep the clean sheet that we needed. But I just felt a very disjointed, weird kind of performance. I don't know what the reason was for it. It could be that it's because we're so close, and of course we all knew, and most of those players know what it feels like to be close and then lose out from last season. Maybe they just wanted to make sure that whatever happens, we do not concede a goal, and that's why they're set up like that. But it wasn't comfortable viewing during the game. But I do have to say, just very quickly, after watching the when obviously we know the result, it's done and dusted, you're relieved, you're happy, and then you watch back the highlights. I actually thought, when you look at it, Man United weren't offering much either. I mean, Garnacho was their only real threat, as far as I'm concerned. And I think I didn't know this, but at full time, he was the only one that I think had a shot from within the box. We managed to keep all the others from outside the box. Of course, we managed to hit a record of 27 wins. Is it 28 wins? No, 27 wins. Could be 28 this Sunday. Certainly in the Prem. I think when we've had longer campaigns, the 42 game campaigns, we've done the 29, I think, or something. But that's pretty impressive, Rich, in itself. But I think Man United were so poor. If we didn't win that game, that would have been disastrous. However, I did feel that, do you remember when they were under Moyes and they were playing so bad? And I thought, right, they're there for the taking. Finally, we can get a result at Old Trafford, and we still lost that game. So I went into this with no arrogance whatsoever. And I thought, I'm not going to be complacent about this as a fan. End of the day, it doesn't matter how bad they are. It's still Manchester United at Old Trafford. And we tend to struggle there, Rich, for some reason. I don't know why, but we tend to struggle there.
Yeah, and we sort of did struggle on Sunday. Although we did get the result in the end, we struggled to get going at all. I mean, you're right. The first 2 or 3 minutes we started really well, and I'm thinking, wow, this could be. I saw the Man United lineup and thinking, they're there for the taking. We started the game so well, and I'm thinking we can win this 4-0. Be our biggest win at Old Trafford probably ever. And then, for some reason, we completely lost our way. And it was the midfield, I thought. We got overrun in midfield. We kept giving the ball away, putting ourselves under pressure. And yes, okay, we got the goal. It was poor defending from Man United, you've got to say. But, I mean, Havertz did well again, didn't he, with the assist. He did really, really well. And, of course, Trossard makes them runs into the box that he does so well. I saw him compared to Freddie Ljungberg the other day on social media. And it's kind of, he's got that vibe, hasn't he? He makes those runs into the box like Freddie used to do, and he gets his fair share of goals as well. I think that's 17 this season or something. It's 16, 17. So, you know, he's been a great signing for us at Trossard. He doesn't always start games. He doesn't like play as many minutes as you think he maybe should do. But whenever he plays, he's always a threat, isn't he? And it was his goal in the end that didn't look like it was going to be the only goal, did it? When it went in after about 20 minutes, you're thinking either we're going to go on and get a few more. But then, of course, as the game panned out, you was more thinking Man United were going to score because that was how the game went. But you're right, they didn't look like scoring really, did they? For all the possession that they had and how poor we were, I can't remember David Raya making more than maybe one save, which was fairly close to him anyway. It wasn't like he was stretched at all, was he? And yes, partly down to our good defending, which was, as a team, we defended well. And then I suppose Man United didn't really have much goal threat, did they? I mean, Højlund didn't really get much going, did he? And, you know, they didn't have anything on the bench that could really come on and change the game for them, which was obviously good for us. But, you know, all of that kind of stuff, at the end of the day, doesn't really make too much difference. What mattered was we somehow found a way to win the game. And when you know, after we lost to Aston Villa, all we could potentially do was win all our games and hope for the best. And so far, with one to play, we've managed to do that just about. Some of them have been not great performances. We've had a few pretty poor performances in actual fact, but we've got the results. We've had one or two good performances thrown in as well and got some really good performances. But it doesn't matter. I said after Aston Villa, I didn't care how well we played. If we won every game 1-0, then, you know, that would have been, you know, if we'd beaten Aston Villa, that would have been enough. And as it so turns out, it still might be enough, but we'll have to wait and see over the next couple of hours. Phil's of us, my friend, he said, better to play bad and win. Yeah, of course it's better to play bad and win than play well and lose, as we've done at Old Trafford before. So yeah, absolutely right it is, especially in the position that we're in. And it's not like we need to worry too much about momentum or stuff like, because there's only one game left. So it doesn't really, the performances don't really matter now, do they? You just need to win the game. We did win the game, but I got the feeling a little bit that maybe we were looking tired, and if there were maybe 4 or 5 games left, have we got another 4 or 5 big performances in us to win the games and hold off Man City? In a way, the fact there's only one left is probably in our favour, because we can probably pull it together for one more game and do enough to beat Everton. But if it was 2 or 3 games left, I would be worried with you that we looked tired. I felt we've looked a little bit tired recently, but that performance on Sunday, we looked tired. We looked lacking ideas, and I'm glad there's only one game left now after that.
Yeah, I think there's something in that. I think certainly Saka looked completely burnt out. He was very slow. He was walking around at times, which is so unlike him. That in the 58th minute, that great piece of defending by Saliba had been started by, I think, was a Saka miss pass.
It was, yeah.
And it's so unlike him, you know, to lose the ball that easily or to give it away that easily. So I think certainly from Saka's point of view, you're right, and maybe one or two of the others as well. But you can't blame certainly someone like Saka. You can't blame the kid. He's been playing non-stop season after season. He's been on international duty, so he hasn't really had a break if you think about it. Declan Rice is another one who's literally played all the games. Gabriel, after not starting, has pretty much featured. So has Saliba. I mean, you know, there's few players there that have been used constantly. I mean, we mentioned that stat only a couple of pods ago where the top 7 players that played the most minutes, 6 of them are Arsenal players. So you can't, and this is why we need to strengthen in the summer. You know, and at the end of the day, as good as you could say maybe 13 or 14 players we've got, as good as they are, it's not enough for 2 big campaigns plus the FA Cup. Because I'm sorry, I always want to win the FA Cup. So that's important to me, as selfish it might sound as a fan. But, it's not enough. And I'm sorry, if we can't sustain this, we talked about this last time, Rich, we can't sustain it. It's not going to be a sustainable model. We need to invest on, I would say, at least 3 to 4 big players. When I say big, it doesn't necessarily mean in terms of money, but big players in the sense that the guys that they come in for, the levels don't drop too much. So we can't have Saliba to Holding, for example. We need. Why is Siri starting? Hang on one second. We put that off. We need a player that can come in, which, you know, may not be as good, but is not too much, you know, of a downscale, if that makes sense. I mean, the legginess is not going to help. But I think, look, if by some miracle something good happens tonight, I think it doesn't matter how tired they are, they're going to be so up for it on Sunday. I can't see anything but a win on Sunday. I just can't. Number one, we tend not to lose our last game of the seasons anyway, no matter how bad or how well the season has gone. And when they're at home in the sunshine, typically, weirdly enough, so many have been against Everton. It's so bizarre. The other thing is, Rich, when we won it against Everton in '98, the team that we played before was Man United, wasn't it? I think, if I remember. I could be wrong, but I think it might have been. Or am I wrong about that? I may be wrong. There's something. There is some similarity somewhere. So that would be a bit weird, a bit of a omen, maybe a good omen. But
I think we won 1-0 away from home, but I can't remember who it was against now.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, whatever the case is, I think we'll be okay for Sunday. But you're right. If it had been another 4 or 5 games to go, I would be concerned because it's like, wow. You need a bit more about you guys, and you're already looking knackered. And I wonder if that's anything to do with the campaign that we I know we didn't go all the way, but we got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and some of those couple of those matches were tough. I think it took a lot out of the players.
Yeah, they were tough.
So
they
could
were
be.
tough.
So.
Maybe that's. I mean, I think that the squad depth is an issue, isn't it? I don't think there's any doubt about that. The squad depth. Talking about depth, we've just improved our squad. Because look who's with us. We've got Lee all the way from the US. How you doing?
Very well, Rich. Very well, Rich. Hi, Neil. How you doing, buddy? Sorry for being late, Rich. Just
look at him with his tan and his pink shirt. Look at it.
I know.
Pink. I'm not sure what's more pink. Is it my face?
For a minute, I thought you were naked because it kind of blends in with the rest of you.
Oh God, yeah. No, definitely. No, that's definitely. I'm definitely not naked. Thank God. You wouldn't want that. But. Yeah, good to be here. I was just listening to your, I'm I like a little stat. So I'll read this out to you. Can you still hear me?
You can still hear. I don't know where you've gone, like.
You can't see me. I'm switching to read something out. Someone sent me yesterday, and it was to your point, Neil, about last 2 games in 02. So listen to this, fellas, right? In 02, Limburg's Stars in the title race, 17 goals, all competitions, 12 in the league, right? 2024, Trossard Stars in the title race, 17 goals, all competitions, 12 in the league. Exactly the same. 2002, last 2 games, United away, Everton at home.
Not 98.
Everton at home. Yeah,
2002.
Yeah. I think you said 98, didn't you? Before?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah,
misheard the year, but yeah, I meant so. And 2024, last 2 games, United and Everton. United away, Everton at home. And I know I'm clutching before you say, Rich. I know. but
why not? We're allowed to.
I love a good stat. I love a good stat, and
like
history sometimes does repeat itself, doesn't it? So who's to say it won't do? Again,
it won't.
We've got those last 2 games. We've got a similar result. Trossard can't score on Sunday then, because if he gets 18 goals, that's no good.
No, that'll ruin that stat. And
don't play him. He's got to stay on the bench. Though. It's too much of a risk. We can't risk him scoring. It's too risky.
So, yeah, I've been a bit of a bag of nerves. I was awake at 6 a.m. listening to the radio, right? Wide awake, just thinking about it. And I know you can never rely on Spurs. We all know that, right? We've been around far too long to think for 1 minute they're ever going to do us a favour. 90. And the Gunners for me couldn't get into the game, unfortunately. So I watched it in the Gunners when Les Ferdinand scored that first goal, Rich, right? I've never seen an Arsenal pub, the Gunners Tavern in Blackstop, absolutely erupted. And you're thinking, are they? You're thinking they're not, and they're not going to do us a favour. And sure enough, the wheels come off. We lost by a point, but yeah, I mean, we are within touching distance. So it does for me. It brings back all those memories of the late 90s and the early 2000s, right? When we were doing unbelievable things. So it's I'm just, time just goes so fast. 20 odd years, 20 odd years. And we are as much as I definitely wouldn't put my life on Spurs doing us a favour. The fact that we're within touching distance, and even if Spurs don't do anything tonight, we've still got an outside chance on Sunday, very outside. So yeah, it's exciting times.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I said this a while ago that whether or not we won the league or we didn't win the league this year, there's no doubt, is there, that we've shown the massive improvement from last year. The pressure's been on. and we kept winning games. Last season we crumbled and we threw away stupid results. We were 2-0 up several times. We drew at home to Southampton. All these kind of bad results. That this season I was thinking, is the same going to happen again? But in actual fact, apart from the Aston Villa game, which just probably extenuating circumstances in the fact it came between the Bayern Munich games, but even so, despite that, I half expected us when we lost to Aston Villa to go on a poor run and drop silly points, and we haven't.
And we haven't done
We've
it.
won game after game after game, even though some of the performances ain't been good. And really, that's all you can hope for, isn't it? You can't expect to necessarily win the league. All you can hope for is that your team does the best it can do and win as many games as possible. And we've done that this season. And whatever happens between now and Sunday, I don't think we can be too. Last season, I was angry and frustrated and disappointed with the way we threw that away. This season, even if we come second, I won't actually be that disappointed because we've given it everything. We can't have done much more. Yes, we lost some stupid games earlier in the season, but so did City.
That happens.
But we've done everything we could possibly do, and that's all you can hope for, isn't it? Really, as a fan.
It's funny, Rich. I remember the podcast that the three of us did. I think after the West Ham, I got home. I think it was the night after we lost to West Ham at home, Boxing Day, or the day after Boxing Day, and all three of us were saying, we need. I think Melvin says the same. I can hear Melvin saying it. Where's the plan B? Where's the plan B? We don't have a plan B, right? It's plan A or it's nothing, and we was all a bit critical. We need to do something different, and you have to say, I mean, from the start of this year, we have been unbelievable, right? Mentality as well to grind out so many games that we've done and then blow teams away. So we haven't. Of course, there's going to be the odd game you're going to lose. The Villa game was disappointing, right? But they are a decent team, and in football matches, you know what I mean, two teams are involved, and you can have a game when you're not quite at it, and we weren't, was we? We were just off colour. I don't know whether it was Munich, and obviously City away was a draw, and and where are we? We're in the middle of May, so it is an unbelievable effort, and I mean, we've said it, Rich, and me and you have said, Neil, about the manager, right? He's got so much right. He's got so much right. Got a few things wrong, but you have to say, I mean, I've said it before, the Havertz thing. He has been brilliant for us. He has been one of our best players, and I was sat here 5-6 months ago, Rich. I just couldn't see it. I couldn't see why we bought him. I couldn't see.
I don't think anyone could.
No. So that's my point about the manager. I think, well, he can't keep getting lucky, Arteta. He must be. He maybe has got a better eye than I certainly gave him credit for. So respect to him, and it's just been brilliant, winning game after game. I remember Wolves about 2-3 weeks ago, thinking, is this the day the wheels come off? And obviously we had Chelsea, we had Tottenham, and then Bournemouth, and we just keep churning out the performances. Yeah, we have ridden our luck, but you need to. City always do it. Liverpool always used to do it. The Bournemouth at home.
And Man United used to do it.
And Man United, I've seen comments you'd made, Rich, and you were bang on. We were at Bournemouth at home. It did seem like somebody, without being a conspiracy theorist, right? And I've kind of wanted us to go over the line. You start thinking that they want us to set this last day up, and because that Bournemouth could have gone horribly wrong, couldn't it? The Havertz pen and the goal that they disallowed. I mean, we would have been sore about that game had we been Bournemouth. So, but we're there. We just got to hope. I don't know what the score is, Rich. It's still
0-0. That's why I'm looking so nervous.
It's 0-0. It's 0-0.
I don't know why I'm so nervous over a Spurs game. What's wrong with me? 26 minutes? Is it 26 minutes, 26
Rich?
Minutes.
Yeah, 26 minutes. Yeah, it's 0-0.
Oh,
I just got it on the BBC app. I'm not watching the game. I made myself a promise the other day. I was not going to watch the game because it's not. I don't really tend to watch many other games anyway, just because I'd rather do something else, especially if it's a game that matters to us. So I knew that if I wasn't doing anything tonight, I would have ended up watching it just because you had to have done it. You know what I mean? I didn't want to do it. I remember back in '89, there was a Liverpool game towards the end of the season when we didn't have a game and it was on the telly. They'd put one game on the telly, I seem to remember, and I never watched it because I just couldn't bring myself to watch it. I think they won like 5-0 or something.
West Ham,
probably. West Ham,
I think it might have been West Ham, and they won like 5-0 or something. And I think, well, I'm glad I never watched it because that would have just done my head in. Watching them win 5-0. And like watching, I mean, tonight is just a strange one because, Tottenham obviously is Tottenham and Man City are a team that we need to drop points and they've been sort of rivals of us. And it's like, can't they just both lose and be done with it? You know what I mean? It's one of them sort of games, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's you can't get too excited. If Tottenham win or even get a draw, it's a great result for us. But it's like, well, do we want to really be happy that Tottenham have helped us out. Well, not that they have helped us out. It would be for their own benefit, I suppose, for the Champions League and whatever. But I don't know. Anyway, there's been a few more comments have come in. Terry says, if Spurs beat City, we should have to share the trophy with Spurs 6 months of peace.
No.
Oh, dear. I don't know about that. Colonel says, if Tottenham get a result, they should do another lap of honour. Well, I don't think they will. I think if they lose, they'll do a lap of honour because they've stopped us. So they'll probably do a lap of honour if they lose, not if they win. Terry says, I keep hearing Arteta has won more games than the Invincibles, but he has. But the difference is they won the Prem. Arteta hasn't. Well, no, he hasn't yet, but he might do on Sunday. And Colonel says, ironically, if we won 26 and drew 12, or probably won the Prem. We would have done because we'd end up with 90 points. And with a better goal difference. So we probably would have won the league again. But anyway, we're only going to get 89 at the most. Phil says, if you got kicked like Saka does, it's forgivable. Yeah, that's true. But then he needs to be managing it better, doesn't he? The squad. Phil said Arteta needs to learn. Oh, yeah, he goes. He's losing squad. Yeah, he does.
We all agree with that. Yeah, we all agree with that.
Been the biggest issue. Well, one of the biggest issues. Yeah. Terry says Arteta had plenty of chances to give Saka and others a red, but chooses not to. Yeah. Exactly, that's all correct. Russ is with us as well, Aidan. Russ, good to see you, my friend. Hope you are well, which is good to hear. Terry says, I still can't see why we bought Havertz with crap. Stop trying to convince yourself. Terry, to be honest with you, right? 6 months ago, as Lee said, I agreed with you, but I actually think Havertz, since Christmas, when he's kind of changed position a little bit, I think he's been really good.
He has been.
He's been so important for the way that we've been playing. He's been so important to the team. Sometimes he doesn't always, he does some silly things. He gives the ball away, he commits stupid fouls, whatever it is. But he's been so important, hasn't he? I mean, Neil, what have you made of Havertz? Sort of the way that his kind of form has changed as the season's gone on, and how much more important he is to the team now than he was at the beginning. We could have left him out of the team and everyone would have probably been happy. But now you can't really leave him out of the team because he's so important to the way we play, isn't he?
Terry, close your ears for 5 minutes. I'm going to talk about your favourite player, 29.
Terry didn't mean it. He didn't mean it. I'm sure that.
No, he doesn't.
For me, Terry, please please be seated. For me, in 2024, he's probably been our best player. I'm going to say that. I really believe it. I think he's been our most important player, our most influential player, and probably our best player. You can't get away from it. He's since he's been in that 9, he has done. He's defended from the deep as well at times, which is completely not what he should be doing, but he has, which probably Arteta loves because he never wants to buy a striker that's going to just stay up front. He wants them all to play deeper, doesn't he? So he does that. He's a great target man. So he's good for the defenders who are maybe trying to look for a pass, or even the goalkeepers looking for a quick progression, a moment of progression when he gets the ball. He's there as a target man. He's strong. He holds up play well to allow the other players or the wing players. Have we lost Rich again? What's happened last week? Are you there, Rich? Oh, God.
Can you hear me or not?
We can hear you. We just lost your picture.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my camera in a minute. I'll try and get it back.
Okay. Shall I carry on talking? He's coming back.
Yeah, carry on. Yeah, carry on talking.
Okay. So he's been he can be a target man. His strength allows the hold-up play just so well, which allows the likes of Trossard, Martinelli, Saka, even Odegaard to get into better positions and gives them time. And then he can score not just with his feet; he can score with his head. His positional play is good. Like let's just look at the example of the game goal against Man United the other night. He was running to the byline, but he kept looking up. He was waiting and waiting for the right moment to make the assist. It wasn't like Martinelli, who tends to run with his head down. Havertz was looking up always for a potential assist for a player. And to be honest, fair play to Trossard, who was equally good. He knew exactly when and how to time his run. And he was there at the right place at the right time. And then he ended up being a formality goal. It was just a tap-in, literally. But they're both those players combined to make it that easy. He's completely gone now. So do we carry on, Lee?
Yeah, carry on.
It's become our podcast, Lee.
Yeah. Bloody Richard.
He's back. He's back.
Oh, there he
the main
is.
man's back. It feels weird, Rich, when you go away. If it's like we've lost our dad. He's gone.
Yeah,
what do we do?
Come
back. You're our rock. Come back. You're our anchor. What are you doing? I feel completely lost. But anyway, so
you did say anchor, didn't you?
Yeah, I said
was just
anchor.
wondering that for a minute there.
I did say anchor. No swearing on this channel.
No, definitely not.
Unless we talk about those lot. But yeah, I think, and he's just so instrumental. And the thing is, you know what? He's so strong. Again, touch wood. He doesn't look like one of these players that are going to get. Well, I'm saying it now, and I don't want to tempt fate. Actually, I won't say it, but you know what I mean. He's a strong, reliable player. He's not one of these which is going to be, oh, he's got a little bit of a twing today, or he's got a bit of a. And you look at him. If you look at some of the games where he plays all 90 minutes or 95 minutes, whatever it is, he's still running like a madman till the death. So hugely important. That's it. Sorry, Terry. You can open your ears again.
You don't mean it, Neil.
No, I mean, I understand why at the start of the season, certainly, I think most of us were feeling scratching our head as to what on earth have we bought Kai Havertz for? Because he didn't seem to fit in anywhere, did he? He didn't seem to. He didn't have a role in the team that seemed to work. He was played in a few different positions, and it was like Arteta was just trying things out as experiment. And you know, when you're trying to challenge for a title, you can't afford to be making experiments in 5, 6, 10 games, which he seemed to do. And in the end, though, it's worked. And he's found his position in the team. And it's almost like he was almost born to play that role in this team. It seems like that, doesn't it? The way he's kind of so smoothly transitioned into this centre forward, if you like. Not a centre forward in the traditional sense. It's kind of a false nine, but it isn't a false nine. I think Gabriel Jesus is more of a false nine. Havertz is kind of a nine, but he's not an actual nine, but he's not a false nine. He's something in between. It's a strange position that he plays, but it works for this team and this structure, doesn't it? I mean, I know, Lee, you've said some good things about Havertz already, but he's been absolutely instrumental in this run of form that we've had since Christmas, hasn't he? Absolutely instrumental.
Totally, and it does remind you that even though we've been watching football forever, and we kind of, I won't say we think we can judge a player, and it does remind you, right, that obviously he was centre forward for Germany, right? But you're not centre forward for Germany at that age if there's not something about it. There must have been something about him, and yet he had that last season at Chelsea, and I knew Chelsea fans, and they were like, honest to God, that they just. I can't remember what they paid for him, 70 million or whatever it was, but he just couldn't hit a barn door. And then when he came to us, you're thinking, so what's his role going to be? They're talking about replacing Xhaka, and you're thinking, what? Am I missing something here? Or going on the wing or doing whatever, linking the midfield to attack. And I just could not see it. And I said it, Rich, in a podcast after podcast with you. I can't see it. But now, as Neil said, since toward the back end of last year, and certainly this year, he's like a different player. And and you're right, Rich. He's not. As soon as I said false nine, I questioned myself. Is he a false? He's a bit of a false nine. He reminds me of what David Platt and Freddie used to play, just ghosting right from the middle of the pitch. He just drifts and then just makes that run. He's done it several times, didn't he? He did it. He's done it several times this season. So he's a hard player to pick up. And then the other attributes are his height, right? His timing. And he's clever, right? Neil's already mentioned against Man United. He just waited. Brilliant, unbelievable run by Trossard. You've got to make that run at the right time, when to get in front of the defender. So brilliant by Trossard. But the most obvious thing, right, is he could see that who was it? It was Casemiro was a long way back. He was slow getting out. So he see him. You could see he looks across and then held his position. He stood there high up. So straight away, I think it was Ben White got the ball, whoever it was. I think it was Ben White. And as soon as Havertz got the ball, they were banging trouble, United, right? And it probably down to Casemiro, but Havertz spotted it. And he's just, he's obviously got the confidence of someone he knows he's going to get picked. He's got picked day one, hasn't he? Every single game. And we're all 3 or 4 months in the season. We're thinking, me included, you've got to give Emil a chance. You've got to give someone else a go. Why is he getting picked every week? And again, I've said it before. Sometimes as a footballer, you just need trust, and you need a long run in the team. And it's difficult. A club like ours, where you have to win, you have to be churning out results. To give someone an extended run is a brave thing to do. And I was saying it. I remember saying it, Rick, saying to you. So I'm massively putting my hands up. Why is Arteta? Is it because he's paid the 60 million? Is that why he's playing him every week? We're not doing it. We need a plan B. And it's just clicked into place. And he just, as Neil said, I agree. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I think he is. He's definitely the best player this year. and a major reason why we'll win the league. If we win the league, he'll be a major reason for that. So yeah, fantastic. It's looking cheap at 60 million at the moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if we win the league, it certainly will be. And it's funny, isn't it? Because I've over the last 3 or 4 years, I've kind of questioned Mikel Arteta about lots of different things, lots of aspects of his management of the team. And yet this season, he made the right decision with the David Raya, Aaron Ramsdale situation. Yep. Clearly made the right decision there. And he's made the right decision by sticking with Kai Havertz and getting his confidence up and allowing him to develop into the important player that he's become. And, you know, those 2 decisions ultimately are one of the biggest differences from last season, because Aaron Ramsdale, I think, would have cost us games at the end of last season, 100%. He cost us. He was one of the reasons why we threw away the league, right? Some of those mistakes we made. Yeah. And he would have probably done the same again this season if he'd been playing in these type of big pressure games. David Raya has come in and he's shown a more calm head, hasn't he, in those situations? And he's done pretty well. Yes, he's made some mistakes, of course. He's a goalkeeper, they all do. But he's made a big difference. And obviously, Kai Havertz's form in the second half of the season has made a massive difference. Well, and they were 2 big calls by Arteta as well. You know, a lot of fans were not necessarily agreeing with his choice there in either of those 2 situations. And he's been proved right. And I never thought I'd be saying this about Mikel Arteta, but he's got those 2 massive decisions this season right, and it's put us now on the brink of 1 game away from potentially winning the league. And that will be down to his, and that's brave. They were brave decisions by Mikel Arteta, actually. They were really brave, because the easy thing would have been to stick with a goalkeeper that the fans love, to maybe leave Kai Havertz out of the team because his confidence was shot at the start of the season. He wasn't playing particularly well, and that would have been the easy decision to make. But he was brave, and he stuck by what he believed was the right thing for the team.
That's what I mean.
And it's about to pay off. And, you know, and you have to, you know, I've criticised Mikel Arteta enough times. It's only right to give him credit where it's due. And those 2 decisions could end up being the most important decisions that he's made since he's become manager of this club. And I say, regardless of what happens between now and Sunday, I think those 2 decisions have been absolutely pivotal to the improvement that we've made this season from last season, and could be important going forward into next season and beyond, you know. And it kind of gives me a little bit more faith in him as a manager making decisions, because I thought until then there were so many mistakes I thought he had made and hadn't really learned from them, and I'm thinking he's going to do the same again. And this season he hasn't. He's he's not got everything right, of course not, but I think those 2 decisions have been so important, and the David Raya one almost gets forgotten about now. But I mean, we remember that, Neil. You know, we talked about it enough times when everybody was saying what on earth he dropped Aaron Ramsdale for a goalkeeper from Brentford and all this kind of stuff, and no one seemed to want to get behind that decision, did they? No. And it was obvious to me that Aaron Ramsdale, I said this 2 years ago, you're never going to win the league if Aaron Ramsdale's your goalkeeper. You're not. He's not a top level goalkeeper. He's an all right goalkeeper, but he's not the top goalkeeper that you need at big moments. And is David Raya that top goalkeeper? Well, I don't know, but he's proved himself. I mean, Neil, he's been brilliant, actually, David Raya this season, hasn't he? Do you not think? When he came into the team, the pressure that he must have been under because of the fans on Aaron Ramsdale's side.
He's been one thing that I did notice about him is he's been so professional. I don't know if you guys listened to his introduction interview, and they asked him about, you know, what's it like between you and this and Ramsdale actually, you know, you actually taking over. And he's going, the boss makes the decisions. He didn't get into it. He just stayed completely professional. He just said, well, the boss makes the decisions and I'll do my best. And he's not like, oh, yeah, you know, me and him, we're good off, you know, we're good with training. He didn't go into any of the politics or any of the emotions. He was just straight, right to the point, well, the boss makes the decisions. And that was it. And I thought, wow, there's something about him. Look, I was blinkered, Rich and Lee. I was blinkered because I was holding on to those moments, and they were damn good moments where Ramsdale had made some unbelievable saves for us. I think some saves which I don't think any other goalkeeper could have done. And I liked, I know some fans didn't like this, but I actually liked his interaction with the away fans. I just liked his emotions when we won, especially pivotal games. I loved all that because I love seeing passion in players or in any sport. I think I might have mentioned this before, and I think I was so blinkered by that. when Raya came along, I'm like, well, why are you doing this? Why? Ramsdale was one of the reasons why we're back in the Champions League. He was part of that team that got us there. Yes, we didn't win the title, but we got our top 4. And he's completely ostracized. That's it. You're not even playing one game in the Champions League. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cutthroat from Arteta. But as it transpires, and now, especially in the last 3 or 4 months, coincidentally at the start of the year, I guess, when we've been playing well, I've warmed to Raya. And what I see in Raya is something completely different to Ramsdale. He's very calm. He's so calm and confident. Look at the mistake he made against Spurs. He admitted it. He went on the interview after because I made a blunder. That was my fault. But after that, he goes, I picked myself up and I just went into, right, nothing else. I'm not letting, all right, the penalty you can't legislate for. That's what it is. A penalty is a penalty. But that he wasn't responsible for the penalty. What he done, though, after that, and especially in the last 10 minutes when they really could have got an equaliser for 3-3, he was superb in the box. He was so calm. He's very good at catching those aerial crosses. He's always commanding, and he hardly ever lets one slip. I think there's one only. I think the first one I saw for a long time was actually in the United game where he went to catch it and it evaded him a little bit.
He missed one.
But but that was probably one in so many that you can count where he hasn't missed them. And when he gathers them, he like literally flops onto the floor, holding the ball, he making sure that it's not going anywhere. And I just feel that he's just so calm. He's good with some of his distribution to keep the progression and to maybe have a counter attack. I really like him now, and he is the number one. And look, you're right, Richard. I was a little bit kind of dubious when you said it then that Ramsdale's not really, he's good, but he's not great. And you even said that about Raya. I think you said, yeah, he's good, but it remains to be seen. But to be honest, all right. A great defense always helps. Come on, we saw that with George Graham, and what were you let in? How many goals that season? Was it only 18 or something stupid? Yeah. So you can't dismiss. You can't just say that's just the goalkeeper. You've got to obviously have a lot of credit goes to the defense. But at the end of the day, they work hand in hand. If the defense know you've got a good goalkeeper behind you, that increases their confidence. If the goalkeeper knows they've got a good defense in front of him, that increases his confidence. So they work as a unit. And because of that, he's got the Golden Glove. Because of that, what we've conceded, 18? We've had how many clean sheets? Something ridiculous. Is it 18 in total or 11 away? 11 away.
Something like that.
We missed out by one of equaling Chelsea's record of 12 clean sheets away. We've got 11 away, and I think 18 in total or something. I mean, that's and Ray, think about it as well. He's done that. And he missed the first few games. And of course, he also missed the 2 Brentford games. And he still got the Golden Glove. Yeah. That's a pretty decent achievement. So, yes, I agree with you. He's been tremendous.
Yeah, he has. And I agree. I kind of doubted when we signed him. I knew he was an upgrade on Aaron Ramsdale, but I kind of doubted, is he actually you look at the goalkeeper that Liverpool have got, the goalkeeper that Man City have got, and you think to yourself, is he, the David De Gea when he was at his best at Man U, and you thought, is he actually one of these top goalkeepers? I wasn't sure if he was. And as the season's gone on, is he in the top 3 or 4 goalkeepers in the Premier League? I'm not sure if he is necessarily, but you look at his record, like you said, those clean sheets, incredible. And yes, it's not just down to one player, it's down to the team. We've defended better this season, and maybe even with Aaron Ramsdale in goal, we would have probably conceded less goals this season than last season. But you're right, he gives that calmness to the defence. And I think last season, Aaron Ramsdale created panic in the defence. And I think that contributed to a lot of our downfall towards the end. But David Raya, I mean, Lee, he's been quite an incredible signing, actually. When you think we haven't even bought him yet properly, have we? He's still only on loan.
He is. He is. And as I say, just that kind of points that Neil made when we signed him, you're scratching your head. But I'm like you, Rich. As much Ramsdale, he's got it in his locker to pull off some spectacular saves. The Leicester one, a couple in Europe that he made that stick out. The one where he almost got lobbed, which was kind of his fault anyway. He was off his line when I think it was against Sporting. He's definitely got in his locker to make eye-catching saves. But for me, what worried about his play was some of the fundamentals, right? And the switching off. And I think he said it himself. He said the killer thing, the thing that stopped you in the tracks. Well, he said, I get bored sometimes in games, right? He did say that. which is like, say, reminded me a bit of David James at Liverpool. Something's not quite. You got to be focused and you got to be professional. You can't get bored, and you could see it as a supporter. I could see him like wandering out of his box, just agitated behaviour, and you're thinking, I want a keeper who's like James Bond, right? It's just cool, calm, and collected, not someone who gets bored, right? And don't focus. I mean, he's really young for a goalkeeper, right? He's the equivalent of 20-year-old footballer. However, I don't remember, so I was 24, 25, but they tend to get better. But so maybe he can improve that. The mistakes in him, as Rich said, it's really easy to pick up on errors that keepers make. It kind of sticks in the head. But my fear was there would have been, as Rich said, there would have been more mistakes to come, right? But again, I admit, put my hands up at the time. I was thinking, I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure about him. I think the first few games he came into, I remember Tottenham at home, and he was Ray was taking a long time on the ball, and he almost got robbed. I think it was Richarlison who took the ball off his toe, and I'm thinking, oh God, this is going to be a long season, right, because there's nothing worse. I mean, it took him. I mean, I'm sure he did make a few mistakes. Luton, when he kind of got done a bit from a high cross. That's for me. That's his main.
2 or 3 goals against Luton were down to him, weren't they, in that game?
Yeah, and he's not big. And I've got a mate of mine, Dill, was about 10 years older than me, and he says, no, I'm not having him because he gets bullied. He's going to get bullied. It's going to cost us. But football has moved on, right? It's not like the game where your big static goalkeeper, Schmeichels and Seaman. Seaman probably would be half decent. Not so sure about the ball at his feet, but the game has moved on. So you do have to have that ability to let the ball come across your body, be confident, knock it out, left foot, right foot. You've got to be a half decent footballer. So you've got to bring that into the equation, because some of these keepers just don't have Joe Hart's of this world and probably Schmeichel, right? Going back a long time. So he is an upgrade. He's not top for me. I do think the defence have majorly influenced that clean sheet record. That might sound a bit harsh, but and he's done very little wrong. But I still think he's not at the level, I would say, as if you're judging it as an Alisson or the what's his name, the City keeper. But all Arteta can do is get the best available, right? And he was brave. He made the move, and we're all thinking no one would have batted an eyelid, really, would they? If we would have kept Ramsdale, no one would have said a word. So, we were second in the league, had a great run. Yeah, he made a few mistakes, but hopefully he won't. But Arteta weren't taking any chances. And it was definitely to do with the ball at the feet. There's no doubt about it, right? It wasn't. It probably weren't the mistakes. I might be wrong. Maybe he pissed Arteta off, for the Southampton mistake. Maybe Arteta thought, right, that's it, you're done. But I don't think so. I think it's purely to do with the ball at the feet and the comfort. So again, it's unbelievable decision. And it's funny how fans have got the amount of fans. I'd say well over half were going, "What is he doing? Why has he done it?" And as well as the Havertz thing. So again, Rick, you're right to put your hand up and say you've criticised him. I mean, I've always been with Arteta, but I can see there's times in games where you're just thinking, what's he doing? Why has he made a change? So he's definitely not the finished article, but he's a young manager still, right? He's a young manager, and there's every reason to think, blimey, we keep him now, build on what we've got, regardless of what happens tonight and on Sunday. There's real reasons to be cheerful. We always say a couple of big signings again in the summer, and at the moment we're in the top 2. Liverpool and maybe in a bit of a period of transition. But yeah, a lot of reasons to be cheerful. And again, as I said to you, Rich, I know when you doubted Arteta more than I did, I think it was fair to say. And I kept saying to you, but Rich, we're up there, we're challenging. It's been a long time since we've been challenging for the league. It was such a good feeling in the stadium last year to be up there and be fighting for the league and have that hope going into April was brilliant. And I was thinking, well, that's all you can ask for. Of course we want to win it. And you could turn around and say, well, Lee, he hasn't won, has he? And that's a valid criticism. But the first job, as Ferguson proved, back in the late 80s and the early 90s, was to get your team challenging. Get them, and George Graham, right, in 87, 88, get them back up there, get them winning league cups, get them second in the league, get them challenging. And that's the first job. And he's done that. and the level of consistency this year has been just incredible. So, yeah, a lot of reasons to be cheerful. I mean, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, and it is half time at Tottenham, and the score is Tottenham 0, Manchester City 0 at half time. So it's 0-0, which is good. We wouldn't mind a 0-0.
Terrible, Rich. You are terrible, mate.
45 minutes away from winning the league.
Well, we're not. We've got to win on Sunday. We've still got to win on Sunday.
I'm honest. I'll be honest with you guys. I am a nervous wreck. I'm fidgeting. Yeah. I'm a nervous. I don't know why. It's a Tottenham game, and look at me. I'm all over. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?
Exactly. I'll throw it in there. If it is 0-0, right, then we've got a 3-goal lead. We've got to be favourites.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. No, we've got to be favourites. But the difficulty for me is the situation on Sunday is going to be. Looking at West Ham recently, they've got nothing to play for. They've gone. They're on holiday, right? Man City could easily go 3-4, 5-0 up at half time against West Ham, and then suddenly, if we haven't scored or we're only 1-0 up, we've got massive pressure then to get some goals. And it could be a horrible day on Sunday.
Don't.
But having said that, though, Everton have got nothing to play for either. That's safe. But it's Sean Dyche, and Sean Dyche has got this thing over us. We don't like it. And he always seems to find a way to disrupt us, and and I'm sure that Everton will want to. They won't want to roll over and get hammered on the last day. Sean Dyche won't want to do that. He'll want to feel that his team's been professional and done their job, and we should win the game. Of course, we should. But we have got a free. We will have a free. Should it be 0-0 tonight in that game, we will have a 3-goal advantage going into it.
Yeah, but which you think normally is enough.
I can see Man City winning 6-0 on Sunday.
Or more, Rich. Or more.
I can easily see
Stop
that.
Wait. No, listen, guys, this will get ahead of ourselves. There's still another 45 minutes to play.
There is. Man City will probably win this game 5-0 tonight.
Don't say that. Rich, come on, please. Don't. Stop it.
But we at the end of the day, what's going to happen is going to happen, right? And all we can do, and we've said this for all we can do is win our game on Sunday. And we may have to win by a few goals in actual fact, as it turns out. We may not be able to just win 1-0 and that's enough. We may have to win 2 or 3 or 4 potentially to hold off Man City, because you can guarantee they're just going to,
Eddie Nketiah signing off with a hat trick.
Eddie.
That's not going to happen.
Do you remember when who was that guy when we started our unbeaten run of 49 games? Pennant, what was his name?
Jermaine Pennant. It's got a hat trick.
He scored a hat trick. Yes,
he did. Yeah,
he did.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
That was
Robert Perez got a hat trick that same game as well.
Correct.
I forgot that. Completely forgot that.
Yeah.
6-1, yeah. I mean, it's the only game I've ever been to where 2 players have scored a hat trick in the same game that I can ever remember. I don't think I've ever been to a game where that's happened before or since.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
But that's why it sticks. That game will always stick in my mind for that reason, really. Because seeing one hat trick's quite rare, really, when you think about it.
To see
two in the same game, it's just it doesn't happen very often, does it? Especially 2 from the same team. Even more.
Yes.
Even more. But no, you're right. Obviously, Jermaine Pennant had a big impact. But then I don't think you can really compare Eddie Nketiah and Jermaine Pennant. We had big hopes from him, didn't we? I remember when he got that hat trick. It was his first season. He was still young, breaking through, and you're thinking, we got a bit of a player here. Yeah. And then he completely went off the rails.
I think the lifestyle. I think the lifestyle. I think the lifestyle more for Pennant than Bentley. I don't know. I think Bentley was. I think I said to Rich, I met him once in Spain. I chewed his ears off. He owns a bar in Port Banús, and I was standing there, and I've been reading the Gary Neville book during the day. Don't ask me why. You think why are you reading? I think it was in the hotel, and I picked it up and I'm flicking through it. So Gary Neville, a bang average player. When you look at it, you think, how can he play Premier League football? If he can do it, we can do it, right? He doesn't look anything special, but his desire to win, going to bed early, never drinking, never always doing the right thing, being on it, which proves, going back a little even further, Kevin Keegan, that even someone with average ability can make it to the top, and in Keegan's place, the very top, right? And I remember standing there saying to Bentley, I had a couple of beers, I said, but why? He said to me, mate, I said, I don't want to play football. It was just a job to me. And I'm trying to process what he was saying. I said, but surely you love the game and you want to play. I said, no, it was a job. I weren't bothered. And I'm like, well, I've been reading Gary Neville's autobiography. He's got 5 league titles and 4 FA Cups and a Champions League. He was like, again, he was like, don't care. Job.
Wow.
I couldn't process it. Because I love
Wow.
football that much. So that shows you his mindset. You know, he had that talent, weren't bothered. Just a job to him. He's happy to give it up and run a bar in Spain at 29. So there you go.
Wow.
Pennant was more party, winning out and
he was,
nicking Ashley Cole's car and leaving. I think he left a Porsche running, didn't he, at an airport
Oh
in
my
Dubai.
goodness.
He borrowed someone's Porsche and parked it, I think at Dubai airport, and just left it running.
Jesus.
So, different characters.
Yeah, he did have a bit of a. He did enjoy the lifestyle, certainly more than he maybe should have done if he wanted a career. But it's interesting about David Bentley because I saw an interview with him on telly once when I think he'd either just retired or he was just about to retire, and he was basically saying the same thing, that he didn't enjoy playing football, and and I see that annoys me. It annoys me because to get the opportunity to play professional football, especially at a club like Arsenal or anywhere really, but to play at the top level, to be good enough and to be lucky enough to get into that position and to then turn around and say, actually, I'm not really bothered. It's like, mate,
it's mind-blowing,
99% of people in the world would die to be in your position, and you just not bothered. I think that annoys me, actually. It annoys me a lot because it's a waste, isn't it? It's a waste of talent that he's been given.
I was actually worried about Ben White because when he was interviewed that first time, so I don't know anything about the mid-sports. I don't watch football. I'm like, oh no, is he going to be one of these? I thought, but look at the difference in his mentality. Look at him; he loves it. He wants.
He's a winner.
When he's on the pitch, it's probably maybe it is just a job to him too, but it means something to him. He wants to excel in his job. That's the difference. He wants to excel in his job, and I think he, the little. I mean, you've seen that. You almost have seen that. That montage of him, messing about with. Yeah, and then all the other little antics. So you can see he's got that little wry smile on his face. He loves it.
That's what you need, isn't it, Neil? That's what you need in a team. Well, we've lacked that for so long, haven't we? When we had Parler, you had them kind of from the old team, players who'd had that side to them, who'd do anything. I mean, they were more physical, but you do need that. You do need that kind of some of the dark arts. We've seen it with teams in Spain. Bang average teams like Atletico Madrid do amazing things, right? By the dark art. And I'm not saying we should adopt how they play, right? Atletico Madrid. But you can take bits and pieces, can't you, from every single team and go, right, okay, well, that's how they managed that situation. Inter Milan against Barcelona a few years back, 9 men, right, away from home. So there's bits and pieces. If you as a coach, you're thinking, we need all these elements, like a winning formula. You can't have 12 nice footballers. You can't have 3 beautiful footballers in midfield. You need someone who's horrible, someone who's talented. You need someone who can get up and down. It's so many ingredients to producing a great football team.
Yeah, there is, and that's the only thing. When I look at this Arsenal team now, what I see is too many players that are very, very similar. They're similar in character. They're similar in ability. They're all very brilliant on the ball. Most of them, they've got this same kind of attitude. They're not, we're just talking about players like David Bentley and Jermaine Pennant. That they're players that are so focused on the job that they've got to do, and there's no. It's almost like, didn't you say it the other week, Neil, that it was too. What was the words you used? I can't remember what words you used now. We were talking about the way how structured it is, and you described it really well. And I think that's while in some ways it is it's a positive.
Yeah,
it's
be a weakness.
A negative. Yeah, it's a weakness because I was on Talk TV the other day after the Man United game, and one of the things I said was that when you build a team as a manager, you only maybe are going to get that team to be at their best for maybe three or 4 years at the most,
Max,
and then some of the players start dropping off their form, or they get older, or they start getting injuries, and then you've got to replace them. You've got to start doing that. Alex Ferguson did it really well at Man U, didn't he? He kept replacing his teams and kept rejigging it. Now, my problem with Arteta is that he's very restricted in the players that he can buy because, one, they've got to be the right character. 2, they've got to be able to fit into that structure of the team. And so many players he's brought in haven't managed to do that, which is why they've been moved on, or some of them are out on loan, and some of them never quite made it. And I think that's could cause us a problem when this team has to be starting to be broken up and rebuilt. Is there another 15 players out there that can fit that structure in the same way that this group of 15 players does? I'm not sure there is. And yes, you don't replace them all in one go. You do it 2 or 3 at a time, and you get rid of 2 or 3, bring 2 or 3 in. But I don't know. I think it's difficult for Mikel Arteta to move forward from this team, because I'm not sure if there's enough players out there that can do the job that this group of players are doing in that way, because of how structured it is and how disciplined it is. And, you know, you can see Mikel Arteta on the sidelines. He was doing it the other day. I don't know if it was a Man United game or it might have been the Bournemouth game. And we lost the ball and we still had, everybody was kind of in position, really. It looked as though we were, but he's screaming and shouting, everybody, as though, you know, as soon as we lose the ball, you've got to do this straight away, right? And he has to keep telling them this. And it's like...
Overcoached.
Yeah, they're doing it. Obviously, they're doing it. But it's like, is he going to find more players that are willing to do that in that same way? And it's took him 4 years to get this group of players together to be able to do it. If he has to rebuild it, is it going to take him another 4 years? 4 years of us going through a massive transition and being not very good for 3 or 4 years while he rebuilds it again? And we can't afford to do that, can we? We've got to maintain this level now and improve it if we can to start winning the league if we don't win it now.
I think he can, Rich.
That's a worry for me because of the players that's available, the money they're going to cost, and is he going to be able to do? I don't know if he can. That's my concern. That is my real concern because of how structured it is and how very I can't remember that word you used, Neil, but you summed it up perfect.
Regimented.
I can't remember, Rich.
That wasn't the word you used. I can't remember what it was now, but it really summed it up.
Yeah, Rich, I think I don't see why not. Right, number one, the biggest factor is we're now seen as a successful team, regardless of whether we win or not. To be in the top 2 of the Premier League 2 years running in the Champions League, players are going to want to come to us, right? And we've all said it today. He's made decisions. So there's Arteta in the last 6 months, especially, where we're thinking, blimey, all of us have thought. And even you, Richard, even you have thought, maybe, you sat there privately and thought, maybe he has got it. He has got something. So I think we've got to have confidence in him. I hear what you're saying, and you are right. We've all said it about, where's the plan B? Arteta seems to have, he doesn't seem to change it. So there's definitely stuff he can improve on. But for me, I think there's every reason he's shown that we should have confidence in him. Players will want to come and play for Arsenal.
I agree with that. I think.
Yeah, I think players will, but are they going to be the right players to fit the structure and the?
Yeah, it's a challenge, Rich. It's a challenge, but I don't see why not. We've got enough scouts, we've got enough eyes, enough eyeballs out there, right? It's like sifting for gold, and it's just to find another player, find another Odegaard, right? And who's still, you know, he's been brilliant for us this season. So it is possible. I think we should have enough resources at a club like Arsenal to find these players.
I think what I was talking about, Richard, I could be wrong, but I don't know what word I used, but I was saying I think the personalities have to fit him in terms of the ones we've got that work with him are very kind of one-dimensional in terms of personality. Yeah. Because they're more focused on being, which isn't a bad thing. Behind me, I'm not criticising at all. They're more focused on the professionalism and the way of doing things in a very structured manner. I don't like him when, as you just made the very good example there, Rich, where players are already in the right position. He doesn't need to be shouting and screaming all the time, because I think that kind of saps their creativity a little bit. Sometimes when you've got a player that is very, very talented, he doesn't need to keep looking over the manager to make sure he's doing the right thing, because then he's constrained, he's shackled in his own ability. It's like almost like he's a victim of his own talent. Well, there you go. There's an example. And of course, he didn't like the more eccentric players like Aubameyang and Ozil and whatever it is. And, you know, they've all gone. And fine, it's worked. You know, we 2 years in succession, at least second. We're runners up. Champions League again. We're going back into the Champions League. I'm not here to sit there criticising, but I think there is a type of, like Wenger wanted a certain personality. I think Arteta has followed suit. He wants a certain type of personality that it kind of adheres to the structure and the vision, but also fits in with the rest of the group, which are kind of similar in that way. So they're all working together. So maybe that's why Ramsdale wasn't an option, because Ramsdale is not like that, is he? So I kind of get it, but God knows what word I used. I don't remember. Sorry.
No, we'll have to look back on the show, but I mean, it's to do with the fact that the way that we play is very, is so, I don't know, it's very structured, isn't it? It's very,
it is.
I don't know. It's almost like you're playing a computer game. The way that we play football It's very like that, isn't it? It's very controlled.
Yeah. Keep the ball, limit mistakes. Yeah, limit mistakes. Keep the ball at all times. Go back.
Yeah.
Rather than take a risk, go back, go across the back four, go back out to the wing.
Absolutely no risk. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think, Martinelli, I think, suffered on the back of that. I think Emile Smith-Rowe definitely suffered on the back of that. Some of the other players that you mentioned before, obviously Ozil was never going to fit into that structure. Aubameyang was never going to fit into that structure. And that's the problem that we've got, in a sense that some great players, there's great players out there. And these great players, as you mentioned, Lee, probably would come and play for us. Of course they would.
Yeah.
Why would you not want to come and play for a club that's up there challenging for trophies? Of course you would. But are they going to be able to work in that limited amount of freedom that they've got? And then Martinelli made a comment, didn't he? I don't know how true it was, how much the translation was, but
Brazil, he played for Brazil. Yeah, you mentioned,
and he said it was nice to be able to play with some freedom when he'd been playing for Brazil. And that kind of, okay, is that really what he meant when it's translated? You don't know exactly. But if he did mean anything like that, that kind of is a worry, isn't it? That a player like Martinelli, who's a flair player, feels that he's got to play within himself to fit in with the structure rather than express himself in the natural way that he wants to do.
Yeah.
And I say Emile Smith-Rowe, I think, no. There's a goal at Tottenham. There is a goal at Tottenham, and I'll give you 3 guesses to tell you who scored it. And he isn't a Tottenham player. It is Erling Haaland that scored for Man City, 51 minutes. It's 1-0 to Manchester City. And they just missed the chances before that as well, apparently. Kevin De Bruyne had a shot saved. So they've come out the second half, City, and looks like they've upped it a bit. But there's still loads of time left. Let's not worry yet. There's still plenty of time left. But that is the first Premier League goal that Man City have ever scored in that stadium, actually, by the way.
Unbelievable,
although they did win 1-0 in the FA Cup, of course, earlier on. But Erling Haaland. You see, you don't need a 30, 40, 50 goal striker in your team, do you? You don't need one. But it's just nice to have sometimes, isn't it?
It's nice to have,
games when you need a goal. But anyway, inevitably, it was Kevin De Bruyne that got the assist as well. So there you go.
To your point, Rich, just finishing off what you were saying, Rich, about Arteta being, and the fact that he's being structured game after game, and maybe not fancying too many personalities. Again, we've got to remember, I think we said it before, he is only a young manager, right? And as he gets more assured and more confident, will he start evolving, and will he start? Because you can't, you know what it's like in life. You have to, if you don't go forward, you go back, the old saying. So maybe as more years tick over in the job, he's going to be more adventurous and trust different types of players. Where at the moment, he's young. It's like when you get a new job, right? You're kind of doing all the basics. You've got your list of stuff to do, and you're just keeping it simple, right? Maybe that's what he's doing, and maybe as he grows into it more, I know you go, well, he's had 5 years late. He should be growing into it now. He's still 41? He's 41, 42. So maybe in the next couple of seasons he will grow. He will try different types of players and different types of systems and be a bit more adventurous.
Point, actually. That is a fair point, because I think maybe as a young manager who lacked experience, maybe he didn't want these big personalities around him because it was going to be difficult for him to cope with it. And maybe that's why he hasn't. And maybe you're right. Maybe in a few years' time, as he's got more experience and he's a bit older, maybe he'll be more able to handle those type of players. And maybe we'll see that even if he's given the opportunity to do that. Maybe we'll see that evolution in the team. Maybe we will. Maybe that's a good. I never really thought of it like that before.
I mean, that's a good point. The way I look at it, right? So I remember, I'm old enough to remember Alex Ferguson at Aberdeen and the type of players that they had at Aberdeen when they won that Cup Winners' Cup, and obviously went into Man U. He got rid of all the kind of people that weren't going to toe the line, and then he got a period. He started bringing the team up second in the league twice, I think, and FA Cups. Who did he bring in? Eric Cantona, right? You couldn't pick a more wayward player if you tried, apart from top of my head, Di Canio. Go back to the 70s, Stan Bowles, these type of players. But he picked Cantona, right? So that's assurance to me and confidence. Now, you don't do that at the start of your career because you're thinking, we're all the same. We're all human. You're thinking, well, he's going to question me. I don't want to be questioned because I'm going to look stupid, because that's the last thing you want. But as he gets more assured, then maybe he will start.
That is a fair point. No, you could be right about that, actually. And I think that is probably true in life, isn't it? I suppose. When you're young, when you're younger anyway. I mean, we'll know ourselves. When you're younger and you're starting out in life, you don't have that confidence, do you? And you don't want to you feel a little bit intimidated by people that maybe do have a little bit more experience and a bit more flamboyance. And you're right. If you're in a position of power over them, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you don't have that confidence. And maybe that's a really good point, actually. I mean, Arteta always comes across as being very assured and very confident, doesn't he? But maybe deep down, maybe he isn't. And maybe that's actually the reason for that. I've never really looked at it like that before.
I think so. I think it does. To me, he's got that sternness in him. Maybe it is a bit of a front. You just climb into a suit, isn't it? You know, people do. I see it all the time at work. People just like climb into a suit, and then you talk to them privately, and it's like talking to a different person it's having. We're all fallible, right? And maybe they've got. I wouldn't say he may not be the most confident person in the world. Arteta don't strike me as someone who'd be laughing and joking in a dressing room, right? He's not a Gaza type of person. He's not a flamboyant. He'd be quiet. He'd be just get on with his job. He'd be very professional, very disciplined. And them type of people, personality-wise, they can't deal with stuff. They haven't got a quick reply, have they? You think of players who chirp up in a dressing room, and you could Ray Parlour could turn around and put someone down straight away. Now Arteta hasn't got that in his locker, so he's got nowhere to go. So he has to have that discipline. So, I mean, we all evolve as we get older. So maybe we're going to end up talking about him in 10 years' time as one of Arsenal's greatest ever managers. Who knows? I am being optimistic, I know, but let's hope so.
Well, I mean, there's a chance that could happen in 10 years' time if the improvements over the last couple of years in particular carry on, and if he can evolve himself, and if he can evolve this team, then, you know, I think you've got to look a little bit at Pep, haven't you? I mean, when you look at this current Man City team now, and when you look at the Pep, say, Barcelona team when he was there are some similarities, of course, there are in the style of football, but in the way that they play as well. Man City now they're a different looking team, aren't they, to the old Barcelona team? Yeah. And Pep's evolved, hasn't he, over the years as well? Yeah. You know, and he's got players now, hasn't he? He's got some characters in that Man City squad, hasn't he? You know, some characters that Arteta, I don't think even now Arteta could handle in that way because he lacks that experience. And I think you're right. Pep has evolved over the years, even at Man City in the 6-7 years he's been at Man City. You know, look at the team he had at the beginning of the first sort of team he built, if you like, at Man City, compared to the team he's got now. Yes, there's a few players that are still there, but he's had players go. Aguero's gone. He's had all these important players that have gone, you know, and he's replaced them with different type of characters, hasn't he? Than what he had before. And that's what Arteta needs to start doing. Maybe not necessarily straight away, but in the future, he's going to have to add different types of characters, isn't he, into the dressing room, into the team. Because I see this Arsenal team, you look through them and you think they're all exactly the same. They're exactly the same character. They're all exactly the same type of person. And they're also the same type of player, most of them, you know, one or two slight exceptions, but they are very similar, aren't they? And I do feel you need that balance a little bit more.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
and I think that's what we're really lacking at the moment, maybe. And you know, and he's only got 14, 15 players that he actually trusts to play as well, which isn't enough, is it?
No, ain't enough. As I called it when I joined, as Neil was saying, we want to go deep into the FA Cup and we want to go deep in the Champions League, and we need 18, 19 players at the level. As we sit in now, we're all saying how well we're doing, but we know, don't we? Deep down, we've only got 13 players probably. Which is nowhere near 50, enough. Yeah. 13 that are continually trusted. You know, your Reece Nelsons and your Eddies and on the periphery are just, you know, we need proper quality, you know, strength and depth. So hopefully we'll address that in the summer, eh?
And hopefully as well, when we get that, Mikel Arteta will use the squad more. Because look what Man City do. Yes, they've got the squad to do it. Like Pep will make lots of changes regularly in his team, his starting team. He doesn't generally pick the same starting 11. I mean, we've had the same starting 11 last 4 or 5 games. You know, Man City don't do that because Pep will trust his squad players. He'll bring them in, some of the younger players. That's the other worry for me as well. You've got Raul Walters, for example, is going to be leaving at the end of his contract. A lot of these other younger players in the youth are looking to leave because they're not getting opportunities to play. And that's a little bit of a worry for me as well. That's something else that he's got to improve. You know, he needs to look at that because that's the future of the club, isn't it?
Bring youngsters through. Yeah, absolutely. We've got an academy. We've got to have faith to use it. I know we had
We've got a good academy.
We've got a great academy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that is a worry. We should have players coming through more regular.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. I think we all do. I mean, I know, Neil, you've always been a big sort of fan of the academy players coming in. We all have, haven't we? We grew up with it. And that seems to have stopped now, doesn't it? It's, obviously we've got Saka is in the team now, but there doesn't look like there's anybody else really ready to, from that youth team. And bearing in mind, it's been, like we said, nearly 5 years, and he hasn't brought anyone through, has he?
Well, he didn't even bring Saka through. It wasn't him.
No. Well, no, he didn't. No, but what I'm saying is, apart from Saka, okay, Smith Rowe's not working out now, but no one else. You'd think in 5 years there would have been. Look at the Man City team. You've got people like Rico. What's his name? Who's in the team?
Rico Lewis.
Yeah, Rico Lewis. There's a couple of others, isn't there? That, a couple of others that have played. That Pepper's brought into the team.
Yeah.
I mean, Foden obviously is a standout one, but that's more of like a Saka situation with him. But. And I just think by now we should have had 2 or 3 that have been in the first team more regularly, making minutes in the pitch. Yeah. And I know that we're in a different situation. Obviously, Emery brought Saka and Smith Rowe in, but we wasn't under the same pressure at that point. We wasn't challenging for league titles and what have you. But even so, I still think it's important, isn't it? Even in the League Cup, he played that one young lad, didn't he? We never seen him again. What was his name? Charlie somebody or other. Charles played in the League Cup against Brentford, didn't he? Can't remember his name. And then we've not seen him again.
None of us can name him, so it just shows you how fleeting he must
Charles. It was Charlie Charles or something, wasn't it? It was
Charles. Yeah, the old Harry Enfield character, Charles.
But he played against Brentford, didn't he? We didn't see him again.
No. It is a bit. I think that's part of what Lee was saying. Maybe his evolution, that he needs to change. He needs to start trusting some of the youngsters, because we've got a very, very good academy, and Per Mertesacker has done really a grand job. Jack Wilshere is now, in charge of it. We've had some good foundations laid there, and then it seems like a waste not to bring anyone through from here. It doesn't make any sense to me. No. I mean, I think I'm hopeful for that Nwari. That kid, it looks like an absolute amazing player. Maybe he'll be the next Saka. Who knows? I don't know. But if we just develop these players and then to offload them to other clubs, which are going to get the best out of them, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Because number one, you're giving away talent for free, maybe against to your rivals, but also you're wasting money where you could have saved it by going external and paying top dollar for external players, where actually you've got the answer right at your doorstep. That doesn't make sense either. Yeah. But the only way you're gonna find out how good they are in the real world, as in playing senior football, is by playing them. And you're not gonna know that by thinking, well, I don't really trust him and I'll stick to my usual. That is probably his fallacy. He hasn't learnt that yet, and he has to learn it pretty sharpish, I think, as early as the start of next season. I mean, I want to see us use the friendlies more productively. Of course, we may have some signings in that he'll need to start bloodying in the friendlies, which is fine. Which we all, as fans, we want to see how good they are as well. Timber will have to feature because he's not played at all for a while. But I want to see him use more of the younger players from the academy, and seeing if he spots something there. The trick is to try and remain in the 2 domestic cup competitions for as long as possible to give these players a chance.
Give them games.
If you dismiss it, Lee, and you get knocked out in the first round, what's the point?
You can't play them. Yeah, and the other important, you're spot on, Neil. The other thing to add to what you're saying, you bang on, great reasons. Financial fair play, right? Becoming more and more of a factor all the time, right? For all the top clubs, including us. Obviously they're not going to allow another City situation. You wouldn't think to happen again. We're in a right mess with these 115 charges, and it's going to. Without getting into how bag of worms to get into, that can't happen. So I think, and the regulator as well for football, so the rules are going to be stringent. So these homegrown players, and all the reasons you just outlined, it's going to be more important now to bring someone through who's zero, who costs zero. So you bring them straight in into the club, and because you can't keep putting the hand in the pocket and spending 60, 70 million, it's not going to be feasible.
And you know what, as fans, we feel better, don't we? We see homegrown talent. And it's giving the kids that are brought up here a chance. I've got nothing against the overseas players. Please don't think that I have, because we've seen. I mean, Bergkamp's I think he's one of the greatest players I've ever seen live. To be honest, right? Yeah. I'm not suggesting that's a bad thing, but I think there's got to be some kind of balance. Yeah. And even if we have just two come in over the next 2 seasons, that's better than none. Yeah, and what that also does, it gives the other youngsters looking up at them thinking, God, we could do this. We could do this. Yeah. If they see that we're working so hard because I know the academy is tough. It is tough and hard as nails. You have to be the best of the best of the best to even play in the Arsenal academy because they're so strict. So they've put in all that hard work in. Their parents have taken them from match to match, from game to game. All those expenses that they incur, they're literally sacrificing their own lives as parents to see their kid come through, and then all for nothing because I'm not going to get picked. So if they see 2 or 3 seeping through and actually making it, that will meet a better influence for the others to strive to that for that as well.
Yeah,
and that's only good for us.
Yeah, and history's proved that it does work. You go back the Busby Babes, you know what I mean? Young teams brought through from the youth systems. You know, Man United in '92, and for us, you've said this before, Rich, a year or so ago about the players. Us fans most remember, right? If you ask someone who's probably 10 years older than us, the favourite Arsenal player, how many you get from the 70s are going to say Charlie George, right? Homegrown player. How many are going to say, our generation, we're going to say Rocastle, Thomas, Adams, right?
Adams,
there's a reason, what Neil's been saying, there's a reason we love these players, right? And it's not anything. We all love Bergkamp, right? Who was brought in, but there's something, and there's an affection for players who have grown, Liam Brady, David O'Leary, and latterly Rocastle, and Michael Thomas.
Still sing Rocastle's name. I know there's obviously a different reason behind that, but he's so adored throughout the fan base. I love Tony Adams. Yeah. I love all of those players. Liam Brady, all right, I don't remember much of him, but I cried when he left. They say he had an impact on me as a little kid. It makes a difference. It makes a massive difference. And as I said, it then inspires the other youngsters who are coming through. So they're just going to see it as well. What's the point? Why am I sacrificing? They want to go out and they want to have fun. They want to be kids, don't they? We all did when we were youngsters. All right, we enjoyed playing this and doing that and this. But ultimately, you don't want to have a strict this and a strict regime that actually is going to lead to nothing. So I think there's got to be he's got to look at that and identify that actually. I've got to start maybe bringing in, maybe he can have a strict number. Maybe he doesn't have to bring so many in at one go, but he's got to start doing something. Otherwise, it's going to collapse. It's going to collapse.
Yeah. Now, there does seem to be like a disconnection, doesn't there, between the academy and the first team at the moment, which is strange because, like you said, you've got Per Mertesacker's involved, Jack Wilshere's involved. These are guys who played. I mean, Jack Wilshere came through that very system himself. I'm not putting any blame on him. He's doing the best he can do. He's producing these players and he's coaching them and they're doing well. But it's like there always used to be that set pathway, didn't there, from the academy into the first team at Arsenal. You know, from when I started watching Arsenal in the 70s, that was always the case. Every Arsenal team had, I know football was different in the 70s and the 80s in terms of the foreign players and what have you, but you always had those players, didn't you, that come from the academy and played in the first team. You always had them. And it was always so important, and especially for Arsenal. I think it's been massively important for Arsenal over the years. And to have that now where it's almost unheard of now, isn't it? So without Bukayo Saka, there wouldn't be anybody in that first team regularly playing that's come through our academy. He's the only one. He's the only one. And it's that we can't have been in a position where over the last 5 years we haven't been able to produce top quality players to be able to play at the top level in the Premier League. Only Bukayo Saka. There can't be. There's got to be. And are they sitting there waiting, not getting an opportunity, which some of them may well be? We've got that young lad now who's scoring about 100 goals or whatever it is in the youth team, isn't he? He's scoring like 5, 6, 7 every game. I'm not saying he's ready to play in the first team now. He's a young lad, and you don't want to put too much pressure on him. But my worry is when this has been happening over the last 4 or 5 years, is he ever going to get a chance? No matter how many goals he scores in the youth team, is it ever going to happen? And you've got to allow it, like Neil said, and it's true, isn't it? You've got to have that dream that you're going to make that you've got a chance of making the first team. And the only way you get that is to see people that you was in the academy with, a couple of years older than you, in that first team. Correct. Then you know the pathway's there, and you think, right, I can do this. And then if you're a parent and your son is being touted by a few different clubs, and you look at it and think, well, if I put him into the Arsenal academy, he's got a great chance of getting in the first team because look at all this long list of players that's in there. You think, yes, I'll send him there. Otherwise, you can look around and think, well, actually, he's got no chance of making the first team at Arsenal. I might as well put him into Tottenham's academy or West Ham's academy. Not that you want to be at Tottenham's academy. But you know what I mean? That's what's going to happen, isn't it? You're going to get more and more of that, and the parents are going to be thinking, "Where's the pathway here? Where's the pathway?"
Exactly.
And it's for Arsenal. I think that's a big. Maybe nowadays in modern football, you don't necessarily look at it that way, but with, like you said, with financial fair play, if you can produce your own top quality players, you're laughing.
Yeah, you are laughing. You're
exactly.
literally laughing.
You're absolutely laughing. You've got a massive advantage over a club that are going to have to spend their maximum amount they can spend to try and catch up with you, and you've got all these great players that you've produced yourself.
That's
that
it.
are now, you know, and I'm not saying you're ever going to get 5 or 6 in the team like the old days. That's not going to happen anymore.
1 or 2.
Guys, I'm going to have to go. I really want to stay, but I'm going to have to shoot off. So it's been so great. Lee, lovely to see you, by the way, all the way in America. Thank you for
Neil.
joining. And Rich, as always, thank you so much. I'll keep the channel open, so I'll keep watching. But for now, I will bid you farewell. Who knows? There's still 15 or I don't know. Who knows? Are they going to do us a favour? I don't know. But whatever happens, we've got to do a pod after the postseason.
After the end of the season, we definitely will. Absolutely,
we definitely will do that. But thanks everyone in the chat. Sorry if I upset Terry earlier, but
No. He likes habits, really.
Take care, all. I'll see you soon. All the best to you.
We'll see you soon, Neil. Thank you very much, my friend. Good to see you again.
No worries.
Take it easy.
Take care. Bye.
Cheers, Neil.
So Neil there's gone. Obviously, he's got a few personal things going on at the minute as well. But yeah, I mean, it'll be a shame, wouldn't it, if we didn't continue to bring academy players into our first team? It'd be a shame, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I said, Rich, I think you touched on it earlier, because maybe it's Arteta, again, being a young manager, you don't want to take the risk, right? It's all right. Jurgen Klopp's got 15 years on him. You know, he's thrown in a lot of youngsters. I know they've had injuries, Liverpool, but they've done fantastically well, didn't they? The youngsters that he brought in, it was about 3 or 4. So again, maybe that's just an evolution thing. You know, in 2 or 3 years, he'll be more. He'll have the faith to do it, rather than just keep avoiding the academy and just doing it with players that he brings in. So yeah, we definitely need to improve it, because, as I say, just having Saka, that's ridiculous. We need at least 1 or 2 in the team, and then 2 or 3 on the periphery, right, on the bench at least.
Yeah, that's what we've always done, haven't we, in history? And I think it's important that we don't lose that. And it worries me a little bit the last few years that we've lost that connection with the academy. And it's just like I say, Jack Wilshere is the coach of the team, and it's almost like that pathway should be there, shouldn't it? Because that's exactly the pathway that he followed. And I'm sure he's feeling frustrated as well that his guys aren't being given the opportunities that maybe some of them deserve.
Yeah, and he's another player that when I reeled off players from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, we all love Jack Wilshere, don't we? Because he was a homegrown player. He was a great, beautiful footballer as well. Such great potential. He never quite reached the heights, mainly because he was determined to going for tackles that he shouldn't have been going in for. I think I heard Chris Waddle, or Glenn Hoddle. I think do the cross as their ex-Spurs players, but I think Hoddle was saying, why is he even going in for them tackles? Someone should just pull him over and say, you ain't Brian Robson, right? You're not 14, 15 stone. You don't need to go in for them tackles. Just don't bother. I don't ever want to see you going for them tackles, because that was the reason he got, I think, so many injuries, didn't he? I think that early one. So yeah, it was a shame. But yeah, hopefully, Rich, we can only hope.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, whatever way the team and the club kind of whatever route they go down over the next few years, it's going to be. I think it's so many things are right, aren't they? We're going in the right direction in so many ways, and it's just trying to make sure that we don't lose track though of what Arsenal means and what it's about. And I think that's so important. We want to win trophies, we want to win league titles, we want to see the club at the top of everything and leading the way. But you've got to keep your identity, haven't you?
Your identity, it is so important. It is your identity, as you said, Rich. When we first started going, the early 80s, we were looking at those players coming in, and it meant so much more. You can't put your finger on why. Well, you kind of can, but it just meant so much that because you always heard about them, didn't you, for a few months, and you reading about them in the programme, Michael Thomas's of this world, and then to see them play, you were like you were totally behind them. Same way as Liverpool, Robbie Fowler, so many other players who are homegrown. Foden, you want them to do. They become the darlings, didn't they? The club.
Absolutely, yeah. And we've always had that as well, haven't we?
Yeah, totally.
Man City, by the way, have just had to substitute their goalkeeper because he got a head injury.
Okay.
So Edison's gone off and Ortega's come on.
Ooh.
Will that make a difference in the last sort of 12 minutes or so?
Yeah,
we'll have to see.
I'm clinging to anything, a few corners, and we just need a goal. I mean, it's a miracle it's only one. But obviously haven't seen the game, but you was fearing a City winning by 4 or 5, weren't you? So, yeah, we live in hope.
We do, and that's given us a little bit more hope, I suppose. Although it didn't happen. That happened in one of their recent games as well, didn't he? Didn't he get injured against Nottingham Forest or someone?
Yeah, he came off, didn't he?
He had to come off then, didn't he, as well? So it's a couple of times now.
Yeah. So, yeah, we live in hope. Rich, I'm going to have to go. So my missus is waving at me with the car. Now she wants to get out for the day. So she's let me have the hour. Because she said, look, I'm fed up with hearing about Arsenal. Because she gets the running commentary on it. And she's like, not interested one little bit. And I'm going, today's a big day. She's like, you're not even playing. Why is it a big day? Well, because I'm explaining it. So she said, yeah, you should do that podcast.
We thank you for letting you come on, because it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted it. I've not done it for a while as well, so good to do it. But I better get back to my holiday, otherwise that hire car is just going to sit there gathering dust.
That's no good, is it? That's no good. You need to get out there and explore more of America. That's what you need to do.
I do, mate. Venice Beach, Rich. Get down there.
Lovely. Sounds great.
All right, mate. Hopefully we'll catch up next week.
We'll do an end of season show probably either next week, I would imagine, at some point if you're around.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be.
Yeah, we'll get that sorted and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been good to see you as always.
And you, mate. And you, Rich.
Look forward to the next one.
Brilliant. Cheers, buddy. Take it easy. And I was impressed with your tweets about your football career resuming at the ripe old age of your late 30s now, aren't you?
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
You're doing well. You're doing well. You've inspired me, mate. You've inspired me to think, well, maybe I can make a comeback.
Why not? Why not make a comeback? Do it.
Fair play to you. All right, mate.
Enjoy your holiday. Yeah, I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, Rich. Speak soon. Cheers, buddy. Thank you, mate. Bye.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
So there's Lee in America. Look at that. Brilliant. All the way from America there. Lee's joined us. It was good to see Neil as well. Neil says, enjoy the rest of your holiday, Lee. Exactly, yeah, over in America, brilliant. Terry says, see you, Lee, take care, enjoy yourself. Indeed, I'm sure he will. So there is, just over 10 minutes to play. It is still 1-0. Are we really surprised? Probably not. But I say Man City have had to substitute their goalkeeper again, so you never know. Sometimes, it can cause disruption in your defence when you have to change your goalkeeper. Have Tottenham got it in them to find a goal to help us out? I'm not so sure, but anyway, as I think when Neil said there, we can live in hope, can't we? And I'm sure we will for the next 10 minutes or so, however long's left of this game. It sounds 79 minutes on here, but it must be more than that. Plus, there'll be loads of added time. Someone's put in there, it looks like there could be nearly 10 minutes added on as well. So there's plenty of time left, actually. It could be 20 minutes to play still. It is only 1-0, so you never know. You never know, dear. But as things stand, we are going to go into the last game of the season 2 points behind Man City and hoping that West Ham can help us out on Sunday, which seems unlikely, if we're honest. But football is a funny old game, as somebody once said. So you never know, dear. But it's been out of our hands, hasn't it, for a few weeks anyway now. We've always known this. All we could do was our job, and we've done that. And I said before, if we finish second again this season, it's not the same way that we finished second last season. It's not we can't compare it and say, well, we haven't progressed or we've come second again. Yes, we haven't won the trophy, and that's going to be frustrating again. Of course it is. When you're as close as we've been, we haven't been top of the table at the end of the penultimate weekend of a season since 2004. 20 years since the last time we'd already won the league by that point. So there has been progress there. We have advanced from last season. We're going to potentially end the season with 89 points, which is the second most ever in the Premier League, beaten only by the Invincibles. And if we come second again, I think we can all hold our heads up high. Everybody connected with the club, the players, the manager, the fans, everybody can hold our heads up high and say, you know what, we gave that a proper go this year. We gave it a proper go. And, we said it before, our form in 2024, we couldn't have done much more, could we? Yes, we could have beaten Aston Villa. But overall, we couldn't really have done much more. City haven't lost a game since December in any competition. They've not lost a game. Yes, they got knocked out of Europe. Oh, they lost in the FA Cup, didn't they? I know they didn't. They were in the FA Cup final, aren't they? No, they haven't lost a game because they did get knocked out of Champions League, but they drew both legs and lost on penalties. So technically, they didn't lose the game. They haven't actually lost a game of football since December. And this is, we've done everything that we could to try to match that and get above them, and it's looking as though it's not going to quite be enough. But I'm certainly feeling a lot differently about this season than I was a year ago, and I'm sure everybody is. And I'm anybody that's listened to the show, or anybody that's seen anything that I've put on Twitter and stuff, knows that I've never been Arteta's biggest fan. I'm not going to try and pretend otherwise now, because we're so close to potentially winning the league. I don't particularly like his character, his personality always, but there's no doubt that he's got this team together, and this season has been unbelievable. It's been unbelievable. But yes, he needs to win some trophies. We need to win trophies, whether it's a cup next season or whether it is going to be the big one of the two big ones. It doesn't matter. We've got to start winning things now. And I do think that first trophy, yes, people will say he won the FA Cup. He won the FA Cup with players he already had there that he's now got rid of all of them. He hasn't won anything with the team that he's built. He's put together. This team now he's spent 4 years building this team, and they haven't won anything yet. And I think that first trophy, whether it's a Carabao Cup, whether it's the FA Cup, it's so important to get a trophy under your belt for this group of players together. Some of them have won trophies elsewhere. Declan Rice won a European trophy last year. We know obviously Zinchenko, Jesus have won trophies at Man City, and they've all won individual trophies elsewhere, but not with Arsenal. It'd be good. This group of players and this manager needs to win a trophy together, and it doesn't really matter what trophy that is for me. First of all, next season, let's just win something, and we can build from there. And maybe that's the difference. Maybe that is the difference. Man City have won every single trophy it's possible to win, so they know what it's like. They know what it takes. They don't feel that pressure in the same way. And yes, we haven't really seemed to have shown it in running this season, have we? Which is a positive thing. But next season, we've got to win something, and that's the bottom line, isn't it? But let's enjoy the ride. It's going to be a big weekend anyway. We always knew that regardless of the score tonight, this was going down to the final weekend of the season. The title race was not going to be decided until Sunday, and we're still in there. We've still got a chance. We have to win, of course. We have to beat Everton, because even now, if this game stays 1-0 to Man City, we have to beat Everton to have any chance. And then we have to hope that West Ham can somehow maybe cling on for a draw or something, whatever they might try and do, help us out. But let's not worry too much about that for now. Let's just enjoy the fact that we've had such a good season, and what will be on Sunday is going to be. And as things stand right at this moment, it's probably not going to quite be enough. But I guess we kind of knew that anyway over the last few weeks, didn't we? We've just been hoping that maybe Man City would fall down somewhere along the way. And then there's only 6 minutes left at Tottenham, and it is still 1-0. So you probably feel as though it isn't going to happen at the moment. Anyway, that's it then for tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I wanted to do something tonight just to maybe distract me away from the Tottenham Man City game, because I would have only watched it otherwise and it would have done me head in. So I'm quite glad we did this. It was great to see Neil and Lee again, of course. Lee's not been able to do a show for a while because he's in America, as we've seen. So that was great, wasn't it? I hope you've enjoyed the show. I'll be back on Friday, of course, with the Arsenal Women's show. And what a week it's been. The Arsenal women coming into the last game of the season. So much to talk about on Friday. Obviously, the announcement about the Emirates Stadium going to be the main stadium now for the women's team starting from next season. So that's something to look forward to. There was the news about Viv Miedemeier leaving as well. So we're going to talk about that. There is, of course, the last game of the season coming up as well against Brighton. So we're going to look ahead to that. So loads and loads to talk about on Friday. And then, of course, the last weekend of the season for both the WSL and also the Premier League. Saturday, Arsenal women against Brighton will be here for that one. I think the kickoff's at 2:00, I believe. So we'll be about 1:45 for that one. And, of course, Sunday from the Emirates, Arsenal against Everton, which still might prove to be a glorious day. So all of that's coming up on the channel over the next few days. Some great stuff there. Of course, next week we'll be getting into our end of season shows. Of course, we'll have the end of season women's show next Friday, and we will get together and do an end of season for the men's team as well with Neil, with Lee, and hopefully with Adam as well. Adam, of course, friend of the show, is going to hopefully come on for our end of season show as well. So that's going to be good, and all that will be coming up over the next few weeks. So loads and loads coming up on the channel. So thank you very much for watching. We are into the last 5 minutes at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And it is still Tottenham 0, Manchester City 1. It is Erling Haaland's goal at the start of the second half that has given Man City on the brink of a victory that would take them into that final day, top of the table. But there is still time for Tottenham to redeem themselves finally after all these years of letting themselves down, really. And never really doing anything important in their life. They've got a chance to do something important in these next 10 minutes or so of this game, haven't they, by scoring a goal. It'll be important to us anyway, won't it? Maybe not to them. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm sure you lot are all going to be watching the final conclusion of that game. I won't be, because I'll be doing something else just to take my mind off it, and I'll look at the score obviously at the end, and we'll see how we're feeling. 88 minutes on the clock now at Tottenham. Neil says, thanks again, Richard, in the chat. It's a pleasure, my friend. Good to see you again, of course, as always. Terry says, glad you did this show. Always great with you, Neil and Lee. Come on, you guys, and good night for you. Yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for your comments as well. Thanks, obviously, to Lee over there in the States, and of course to Neil as always. And thanks to all you guys as well. And we'll be saying thanks to Tottenham if they can score us a goal, won't we? But I'm not holding out too much hope. You know, it was 0-0 for a while. We was dreaming a little bit, weren't we, at half time? But it's not going to be, is it? I don't think. The Man City are probably going to hold on and maybe even get a second goal. Who knows? But we'll see. So that is that then. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll be back Friday at 7:45, of course, with the Arsenal Women's Show. What a show that's going to be, by the way. Definitely join us for that, because so much has gone on at the Arsenal Women this week as we look towards the end of the season as well. And of course, 2 massive watch-alongs to conclude this season. Of course, it is a Euros in the summer as well, so we'll be back bringing you some coverage of that as well. And of course, coming up at the end of May, we are watching the Lionesses play against France in the Women's Euros qualifiers as well. So loads of great stuff to come on the channel, of course. And I say over the summer, we'll be doing some Euros stuff. We'll be doing loads of other bits and bobs as well. So David is going to be good fun, isn't it? I'm sure you will agree. So that's it for tonight then. It is still Tottenham 0, Man City 1 in the last minute of the 90. They're not going to save themselves, are they? They're not going to save us rather than saving themselves. Just before we go, actually, there's a couple of interesting little things on here. If you look at the stats to this game, right, if I can just find them, I was looking at them before. I can't see where they've gone. They're here. Look at the stats of this game, actually. Tottenham have had 52% possession. They've had 10 shots to Man City's 5. They've had 5 shots on target to Man City's 3. They've had 6 corners to Man City's 3. So, you know, they've had 15 touches in the opposition box, or Man City have had 18, but Tottenham have been ahead on most of the stats in this game. So it's not like they've just rolled over and let City win. They've actually done, they've done a professional job, Tottenham. We haven't watched the game, as you know, but it looks like from the stats they've played all right. They've played well, actually. So you have to give them credit for that, because I was kind of half thinking that they may end up just rolling over. I think we all felt that was a possibility. But they haven't. So fair play to Tottenham. They've at least giving it a go, haven't they? They just had a big chance apparently there to equalise as well with Son. So there you go, but he didn't score, obviously. It was a couple of saves there from Ortega, the substitute goalkeeper. Wow, so there you go. Tottenham almost did it, Tottenham. And it would have been Heung-min Song as well that could have scored in the last minute, but anyway, he didn't. Terry says, make sure you hit the like button before you leave. Yeah, please give us a like as well. And subscribe if you are new. We're building up nicely here as the channel has grown over the last few years, isn't it? And we're looking forward to... Oh, hang on. Just before we go, there's big news. There is a penalty been awarded at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. A penalty has been awarded in the final minute of the game. Well, in stoppage time, actually. There is a penalty at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We're going to stay with this now, actually, because it's quite exciting. There is a penalty, but I'm not sure it's 2 yet. So let's not get too excited yet, because it might not be to Tottenham. It looks like it's a penalty to Man City. So I'm getting excited for no reason now. I do apologise. We're in the second minute of stoppage time. And it's Pedro Porro has fouled Jeremy Doku. And Erling Haaland is going to take this penalty. And I think, obviously, if he scores, that'll be that, won't it? You imagine in stoppage time, chance to make it 2-0 to City. Just after Tottenham had a big chance to equalise as well. But now Man City have got a penalty. And I don't even think VAR are going to come to our rescue by the look of it. It looks like it's been given. And it's Erling Haaland, who I'm not sure if he's missed a penalty, has he, for Man City since he's been there. Be a nice time to miss one now, wouldn't it? It would at least give us a little bit of hope. So we'll stay with it until the penalty's taken. He's taken it, scored. It's 2-0. It's over. Man City have won this game. Erling Haaland has got both the goals. It is Tottenham 0, Manchester City 2. And we have now got to pray that West Ham can help us out on Sunday. But anyway, you never know. Stranger things have happened, but it's probably not going to be, is it? Unfortunately, Tottenham did what Tottenham do best. Although I suppose I'll say they seemed like they did give it a go for us. But anyway, it is Tottenham 0, Man City 2. Erling Haaland's penalty in stoppage time, and yeah, that's that. But we're still going into the last day with a chance. Terry says, make sure you tune in for the Friday show. It's the best way to start your weekend. Indeed, it is, yeah. Friday show is going to be good. So join me for that at 7:45 on Friday. This has been over and over and over again. It's been a good show. It's been a lot of fun. Didn't quite end in the way we hoped it would with a Spurs result. It is Tottenham 0, Man City 2. We will see you Friday, guys. Come on, you Gunners. Take it easy. Enjoy the rest of your week. See you Friday.